til gutten, kom sauen til mor. Kom snehvite katten med sølvhvite spor. Kom sauene mine, kom frem ifra skjulet. Kom kyllinger små som mettet kanko. Kom duene mine med fjærene fine. Se, gresset er godt, men sola gjør godt. Og tidlig, tidlig er det på sommer.
On June 20th, 2022, my friend Tuva and I went on our 4th hiking trip to Gommerud mountain and decided to make little movies about the place, simply because it is so interesting. And this time, the 4th time, we spent this brightest night of the year sleeping out at the girls' hill in our hammocks. And we found an amazing stone circle, or actually more like a spirally stone labyrinth with a little grove and an altar in the middle. And this is not all, but let us start at the beginning of the path, the one we took the first time that we came here. And let me explain a little. The place, Gommerud, lies to the northwest of Kolsås, as in Coal Hill, where archaeologists have found many traces after seething human activity since the Stone and Bronze Ages. There are Bronze Age pictograms there, among many other things. This was a region with many thriving settlements for thousands of years. Across a valley to the southwest of Gommerud lies a place that Tuva and I visited last year. We made a video about that place too, the trip to Robbers Hill, where there are traces after an ancient Bronze Age highway through the hills, and where we find several spectacular Bronze Age burial mounds. So when we went there last year, and made this video, we found many seemingly natural formations that seemed taken right out of Norse mythology, what with the river of the Norn Urd, Huldra's gate with rainbow water springs, a grove with an ancient ash, and what seemed to be an altar. When we started exploring Gommerud this year, we found that although there are no known archaeological finds there, there are many interesting place names and even more interesting folklore. And also landscape that seems to fit right into folklore and legend and mythology. Apparently, a giant lived here, a Jøtun, who in later Norwegian language became known as the Junte, the Gommerud Junte. And these legends lived on until the present day. Old people still remember these stories. The legends about the Junte are closely linked to very interesting natural formations that made us think that these legends are based on the landscape itself and must have very, very old roots, and that the place names also lend to the notion that the entire mountain was a place for ritual, with natural formations that lend abundantly to mythology, folklore, and ritual possibilities. We have found caves, water wells, what we think must have been a thularstol, like the chair for the reciting sage. We have found a sort of labyrinthine Stonehenge, a hill for the giant, a hill for the boys, a hill for the solitary, and a hill for the girls, which lies right next to a 30-meter deep, narrow cave that feels like a passage into the womb of earth, right between the Girls' Hill next to the Sun Mountain in the west. Everything seems to have been perfect for initiation ceremonies for young boys and girls and others, with absolutely every natural shrine one could possibly find in the initiation narratives of the Eddas and of the sagas too. Gommerud lies between two important Bronze Age settlement areas, with fertile valleys in between, that have been cultivated for thousands of years. Although it should be noted that in between Gommerud and the burial mounds of Robbers Hill, the valley was far smaller than it is today, since there used to be ocean stretching almost all the way up to Gommerud during the Viking Age and the Iron Age and before. There are ancient paths leading down past oak groves and other caves. There is a raven's cave here, and countless so-called jettegryter, natural water source wells coming up from weird little holes in the ground. In this first part, we are going to walk up a ravine that goes directly from the south to the north, so that the sunlight only hits and fills the ravine at noon, a natural clock. At the top of the ravine, there is a stone that looks like a giant guardian. Once past the guardian, we will find a water spring that was sacred to people who lived during the Middle Ages. This water spring is found in a so-called jettegryte, a giant cauldron, which is a hole in the ground that spurts water. People used to offer coins into this well, and it was attributed to an otherwise unknown legend of Olaf the Holy, who jumped his horse all the way across the valley from Kolsås and landed here. The water spring and the other holes in the ground were supposedly the markings of his horse's foot. But as we shall see, there are in fact 8 such hoof prints. And who had 8 hooves in Norse mythology? We think that the legend and the shrine of the sacred well may have been a typical medieval Christian layover of a far older myth and a far older kind of shrine. It says here that this is like a border between 2 different types of rock, from basalt, B1, to the mysterious Rumbeporfyr. We see here on the mountains, you can see there is a basalt kind of cave and a crack going up to the left. On the bottom there is Rumbeporfyr, which we saw, which has these caves because of the pockets of gas. And on top there is basalt. It's a volcanic igneous rock, and in the middle
you can see there has been rocks tumbling down because of the glacier. It was about this height was the border, how far the glacier actually got when reaching the ocean and stopping, and it has been pushing rocks in front of itself all the time, and here they came tumbling down.
Well, it's like a border, right? This is like a ravine. It's the entry to
Yes, this is the entrance to the Gommerud mountain, and it's quite interesting here because this is very steep, and on top, I don't know if you can see it now, we will be closing it, but it is like the giant has been turned into stone.
That's probably the Gommerud.
Yes, it could be. I
Gommerud
think
giant. Yeah?
I think it is.
Yeah.
And there is a story here that we will see later, how the Christianity was closing up on this Gommerud mountain, and maybe there has been a confrontation between the junta and the Christianity.
Religion.
Yes,
Yeah.
even though he made a church.
Yeah, but maybe that was when he realized that, okay, now nobody's coming here anymore to make offerings to him. So
In the circle of stones.
yeah, in the circle of stones, exactly, and
So,
in all
yeah.
the caves and paths that we are going to explore.
And then he had to make a church, but
Yeah. Maybe it was to call people back again. I think he likes to have people here.
yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's a very friendly, welcoming place.
So we have to get closer to him and see how he was when he turned to stone.
Yeah, it's really steep.
But I kind of believe that this might be one of maybe his son or something that wasn't that cunning as him.
Yeah,
But I think he's still around.
he is still around,
It
definitely.
might be his son that has been
Yeah,
dared too much.
yeah. You can see him here. It's like...
You can see his nose quite
Yeah.
clearly, and two eyes and a mouth.
Yeah.
His tongue is sticking out,
Yeah.
and he has his fists on both sides of his head.
Oh yeah, his fist. Yeah, that's the
Yes,
fist. Yes.
both fists. And
Oh,
you can see his shoulder
Yeah.
coming out to the bottom to the left.
Yeah.
Here's his shoulder, so it's only the top of him.
I think actually it's like he's a guardian of this place, because he's just by the path, by this entrance into the Gommerud mountain.
Yeah, I think he stands like this, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
he's-
like this,
Yes,
yeah.
he stands like this, and he guards the Gommerud mountain, and you can see his shoulder here, and his whole body is within the mountain.
Yeah.
But he turned to stone. They sometimes do when they get sun directly on them.
Yeah.
But as you can see there's only sun here exactly at noon,
Yeah.
because the crack here
Oh yeah.
goes to the south.
So this crack is only sunlit at noon.
Yes.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
you can see there is a mountain up here,
Yeah.
and then he's in the shadow, and the whole afternoon he's in the shadow. But exactly at noon the sun shines directly into the path, and then he shouldn't be here.
He probably forgot. He was standing guard here and he forgot to hide when the sun came. Maybe someone came up here.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's the guardian.
Yes, and it's hardly sunlit here.
You see his nose from the side too.
Yeah. Quite a profile.
Yeah. Right here. Yeah. Now we're going up to a sacred place.
The part of the Gommerud mountain that is furthest to the east.
Yeah. This is directly east one. East.
Yes. And
Nice
when you
view.
come closer, you can hear the story about it.
Ja. Jeg skal bare slå av litt.
Go down to the place.
Ja. This is it. A water spring.
So this is a place that is quite famous in the area. You can see the mountain over there. It's called the Kolsås. And once Olav, the king in Norway, in around 1020 or something,
Olav the Holy.
Olav the Holy.
Yeah.
He came from Viken. You can see the ocean going into a town there,
That's the Viken Fjord.
Viking Fjord.
Now it's called Oslo Fjord, but it used to be the Viken Fjord. Yeah.
He came riding from Viken, going home to Ringerike, where he had his farm.
Mhm.
And he was charged by some king that wasn't Christian, and he believed in the pagan religion. And they were closing up on very close to Olav the Holy. But when he came to Kolsås, he took a giant leap with his horse, and he landed here on the Gommerud mountain. So he flew several kilometers over the Glittersdam, the lake of the Shining, and down here on Gommerud. And you can see here that the 4 feet of the horse landed here and making these deep holes. And that place has therefore become a sacred place, because Olav, of course, he outmaneuvered the people chasing him, and he came safely down to Ringerike.
And the horse jumped from that place. That would be like, what, 5 kilometers?
5 kilometers or something.
Yeah, it jumped all the way here. That's why it's so, the hoof prints got so deep, I suppose.
And the largest one to the left there has been called Olav's source, because there's always water there, and people had put coins and
Olav's
things.
well, I
Olav's
think.
well.
Yeah.
And they put coins and things into there to get to offerings to Olav. So this place is called Saint Olav, Sankt Olaven in Norwegian.
Yeah,
And
the well of Saint Olaf. Yeah, the well of Olaf the Holy. But they are actually the hoof prints of his horse.
yes.
So he was running from a pagan king. It's really interesting. So this was used as a sanctuary during the Middle Ages.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they put
This is nice water.
coins into it.
Yeah. It's a sacred well. properly. This is one hoof print, and there,
One here and one
and
here.
there. Oh, see. But we talked about something the other day when we were here. I think that most Christian medieval shrines, like holy places, and also celebrations and legends, they were often replacing older shrines and older legends from pagan times.
It's because Olav the Holy, he wasn't very known for having a fabulous horse
No?
that could jump fantastic distances and fly 5 kilometers, landing just on the edge and saving himself. He wasn't known for that.
No, who had the horse who was known for being able to jump things?
Yeah.
I think that would be Odin, don't you think?
Yes.
I think so too. Maybe this is
resembles him.
originally an Odin myth.
It could be, and
Yeah.
if we count here, there could be more than 4 hoof prints.
But maybe the legend was really Odin jumping this valley with his horse, Sleipnir. These are Sleipnir's hoof prints, and if people were putting coins in this well in medieval times, maybe people in pre-Christian times also used this as a sacred well. It's very, very likely. We don't know this. This is speculation, but this is the typical way things were done.
And if we count,
Yeah.
you could say there are 8 hoof prints here as well.
Actually, we could. Where? Let's see if this is
the
like
biggest one.
One,
1, 2, 3,
three,
4.
4.
But there are also 5,
5,
6,
6,
7,
7,
and 8.
8 legs.
So
Oh,
there are 8 hoof prints here.
I think we cracked the code. This is Sleipnir's hoof prints. Sleipnir jumped all the way from Vikenfjord area. He came up on the Kolsås top and then over, what do you call it? Glittervann?
Glitterdammen, yeah.
The shining water, the shining lake. This is all, it's like taken out of Norse mythology, I think. Down there, you can see this is steep down here, really steep. Like,
It's like 100 meters going straight.
yeah, straight down. There is a path down there. Wow. So we went through a ravine that was guarded by a giant, and then we came here and found 8 hoof prints and a sacred well.
And it never runs dry. I've been here so many times. Even though the summer has been almost totally dry, there will be water in that.
This well, yeah, because it's coming from inside. The water is, it's a water well. This is a source of water, and there are many of these in this Gommerud mountain.
Yes, because the mountain is made with several cracks because of gas gathering, and then the water would assemble and bring fresh water. And they say that is one of the reasons many people went here, because they would always find the fresh water.
Yeah. Wow.
Because you couldn't farm up here in the mountains.
Not here, no.
So we speculate that this holy place and its legend may be based on earlier pagan traditions, since most medieval Catholic holy places were in fact laid atop old pagan sanctuaries, while old pagan legends were often revised to fit into a Christian worldview. So maybe the horse had once been Sleipnir and the rider had once been Odin. After seeing the water spring and the hoof prints of Sleipnir, as we see it anyway, we began walking further in towards the Juntes Hill, the Giant's Hill. This was also what we did the first time we came here back in April, when we first began to explore the Gommerud mountain. Let us sum up the legend. In the Gommerud mountain there lived, according to legend that survived into the present day, a giant known as Gommerudjunten. Junten is a later dialect form of Old Norse Jötun, which means giant, and the Gommerud giant was said to have built all the peculiar stone formations here, which certainly look like ruins of giant buildings. As you could see, we saw Junten himself in a rock, standing there as a guardian. When we approached through the south to north uphill ravine passage on our way up to the sacred water spring and the hoof prints of the 8-legged horse. Although Tuva claims that the stone giant could not possibly be the Junte, as he was clearly still present in this place. I think at least his spirit is still present in this place, although we did not see him in physical manifestation apart from the stone, perhaps. Now, what happened on our first trip here was that we noticed a presence when we sat down to eat. Huan the dog became nervous. Hairs raised on our arms, and we called out to see if anyone would answer. Nobody did, but suddenly we all, even Huan the dog, noticed a benevolent presence at a certain place where one thermos suddenly started to shake violently of its own accord, while Huan the dog started to whimper. Was there an earthquake? No. We had a thermos for food, one for tea, one for hot milk, one for coffee, all standing there. Only the thermos for food started to shake violently. We called out again, letting the Junte know that we were aware of his presence and that we hoped it was okay for us to sit here, and the thermos stopped moving. We left some berries and nuts for Junten, and suddenly one of the berries had moved 2 meters away with no explanation. But Huan calmed down, and we felt invigorated and blessed. 2 ravens passed by, flying towards another steep ravine path, and we followed and found an amazing little cave down there, which was situated at the top end of a pathway known as Kjerkestien, the church path, leading down to, or up from, the Juntekirka, the giant's church.
Det er rombeporfyr, nei, hva er det heter? Porfyr. Det er sånn istidshule det her. Tror du det har bodd noen her, eller? Ja.
Det er jo perfekt sted å bo. Kunne til og med et bål der, og røyken går opp. Og det
er et en røykhull.
Og så ser vi her, vi flere sånne gassrommer. Og så vi ser jeg kan vise for deg.
Her har det bodd folk i steinalderen. Oi, se der. Vatt. Ser ut som sånn.
Det er litt blålig, ser du det?
Ja.
Det er fordi det er sånn kobber.
Ja.
Det blir jo sånn grønt, ikke sant, på kirketak og sånn,
Ja.
når det oksiderer. For det er sånn kobber... Og her ser du veldig godt at det er rombeporfyr, ikke sant?
Ja. Her er noen tegnet med...
Her er det sånn firkant, ikke sant?
Ja, ja.
Det er rombeporfyr. Det er rombeporfyr. Og så er det mindre huler. Som kanskje er flere, sånne små gasslommer. Vi tror jo dette er en stor gasslomme som har... Og siden her ser det nesten som det skinner i gull, jo. Sånn der...
Gull, ja.
Dvergesølv.
Veldig spennende liten hule.
Veldig fin, den er nesten, den kunne vært hogget.
Men når du sier gasslomme, betyr det at det er farlig å ha ild her? Det er derfor det har blitt sånn.
Flytende, og så kommer det gass som da holdt seg, og så er den helt eksplodert seg. Kanskje fordi havet har slått på den og vært kaldere. Og lager bål oppå og sånn.
Lukke bål der, og så er det bål.
Og så går røyken ut, og så kan du ligge helt tørt der inne.
Der inne kan du ligge og ha.
Det regner ikke inn her, for her er det veldig rødt.
Jeg tror ikke det der i steinene der er rester til steinalderbål, da. Vi kan leke det. Ja.
Ja, den var fin, altså. Og se ut.
Nå mangler bare at den ravnen kommer flyende forbi igjen akkurat nå mens jeg filmer. Det hadde vært kult, men det vil den selvfølgelig ikke se på den utsikten.
We speculate that this little cave, perfect for spending the night, may have been a part of the ceremonial path leading down to, or up from, the Giant's Church. That church is not an actual church, and never was. It was a huge natural stone formation with a legend of its own. When people in Norway became Christians 1,000 years ago, the junta missed his regular visitors and decided to build a church. Sadly, back in the 1970s, contractors blew up the church so that we now only see a bunch of rocks there. But right next to the church stands still another amazing natural formation, looking like an enormous bauta that could only have been raised by a giant. It was called Juntens prekestol, the giant's preaching chair. On our first trip here, we did not find the preaching chair, but spent the day enjoying the landscape of Juntåsen, the giant's hill, and the little cave that we found. On our second trip here, we moved further west to the next hills, Guttåsen, the boy hill, and then on to Eineåsen, the solitary hill. In between Solitary Hill and the hill furthest to the west, Jentåsen, or Girl Hill, we found a third ravine passage going down towards the south, and this passage, called Sirisrenna, led down to the giant's church and the giant's preaching chair. The whole realm is very friendly in ambience and supremely beautiful and full of natural water springs and caves and ravines, physically challenging but indeed inviting. The church was blown up by greedy idiots back in the 70s in order to make cheap quarry, what created an uproar from the older generations who remembered the lore of the giant's church. And because they protested, the chair, that is the bauta or whatever, remained standing. I found a deer skull there and a nut and took a picture of the chair and imagined that our path there had once been for ritual processions and that the chair was really a tularstol, a chair of the reciting sage, from which a person could stand and sing out, being heard far and wide. Initiation rituals, perhaps, what with a hill for the girls and one for the boys, joining paths down the ravine until this obvious natural temple with several special spots on the way. And, what do you know, from down there we could see a raven's nest. And they had chicks. We saw them with our binoculars, but my mobile camera only managed to catch the raven's cave. There was a steep named after the church, the Kjerkestien, the church path, that we followed back up to the Giant's Hill, and there we once more walked past the cave that we visited last time. This is one of the most special places that I have ever been. On our third trip, we went over to the Western Hill, the Girl Hill, and from there we came to the fourth passage going down from the mountain, a passage separating Gommerud and the Girl Hill from another mountain, Solfjell, the Sun Mountain. The passage between Girl Hill and the Sun Mountain was different from everything else here. It was dark and gloomy, and we had the feeling of venturing into the underworld. And so we did. A little down that path, there was another cave, a mysterious deep cave, going 30 meters into the Sun Mountain, a narrow path, south to north, and very much like a birth canal passage. It would have been perfect for some sort of rebirthing initiation ceremony. It is like a narrow underworld passage going directly from south to north. North is the mythical direction of Hel. During the World War II, this cave was used by Gutta på skauen, which translates as the boys in the woods. This was what people called the partisan resistance against the Nazi occupation of Norway, a resistance that was remarkably successful because people back then tended to be extremely well acquainted with the wilderness of their regions, knowing all the caves and crevices and places to hide. Halfway into the cave, we agreed with awe that the boys in the woods had truly been hardcore to actually use this cave as a safe haven, for it was absolutely draining out our adrenaline and we had to stop. We decided to return for further explorations later when we were more prepared for such a challenge. I love caves, but this was like walking through a narrow tunnel into hell. On the 20th of June, Tuva and I returned to Gommerud for the 4th time together. This time we had decided to spend the brightest night of the year right here at Jenteåsen, the girl hill. We walked up to a wonderful view place where we made camp early in the day. Since the weather was warm and dry, we had decided to sleep outdoor in hammocks. After making camp and having some lunch, we went out to explore many of the places that we had been before, so that we could make some documentaries. We walked back eastwards from Girl Hill, across the wild and scrubby Solitary Hill, and then down the Sirisrenna passage again. On the way down, we saw this great stone altar that we had noticed before. And when I say altar, it is not because we know that it was, but because it would have been perfect for it.
Tre, tenker jeg. Tre. En skikkelig bauta. Jeg vet ikke om jeg ser ikke så mye nå, altså. Kan vi det?
Nei, og denne stien her, den har de gått lenge, altså.
Ja, den er eldgammel.
Og hvorfor nede i Sirisrenna, det...
Det må jo være... Oi, skal vi prøve å gå til bautaen og se ut?
Ja, kom!
Oi. Den er skikkelig bauta.
Men den ser også ut som et slags troll på skeive.
Ja, et troll, ja.
Det trynet der.
Ja. Hvordan har den liksom havnet sånn?
Ikke rast lenger her.
Så se på de fine tegningene. Se der, da. Prosesjonstid det her.
Jeg har virkelig. Jeg tror nok det gikk ned.
Ja, det tror jeg at det virker så naturlig å ha gått ned sånn, og så opp kjerke, ja.
Kommer fra hver sin kant fra gutt og jenteåsen.
Ja, ja. Så har de møttes i Siris.
Einåsen.
Ja. Så har de møttes i Sirisrenna.
Ja. Dere kommer til en rad med jenter og en med gutter, og så er det prekestolen, da.
Ikke sant? Får helt sånn frysninger. Det føles ut som det er det, ikke sant?
Virkelig.
En skikkelig fin røys. Dette her ser jo ut som det har vært bygd.
Ja.
Ser ikke det?
Ja, det er det som er så rart. At dette her
Det
var
ser
jo,
jeg. Ja.
dette er jo sånn vanntank, men jeg tror det har vært det i lang tid.
Ja, det ser liksom ut som veldig gammelt, noe de kunne ha...
Det ser ikke ut som dette her er fra 1978.
Nei. Men det er kanskje da de restaurerte det, da. Det ser veldig gammelt
Det
ut.
ser veldig gammelt ut. Så jeg tror de har egentlig tatt en gammel vannkilde og bare restaurert det.
Ja.
Og brukt til
Ser du?
en sjømennenes helseheim.
Ja, det er den, ja. Oi.
Så her
Det kunne like gjerne vært en sånn bygdeborg fra jernalderen, liksom.
Men det er nok en naturlig vannkilde her.
Ja.
For det er mye vannkilder her
Masse
i området. Så det er nok en som kommer opp der, som
Ja.
har brukt i lang tid. Og så har de bare restaurert den og brukt den også i mer moderne tid, da.
Ja. Var det et merke? Er det sopp det der borte, eller gul, som ser ut som gull der borte?
Ja.
Oppå så tjuke, ja. Det er veldig mange tjuker som har sånne medisinske egenskaper. Jeg vet ikke helt hvilken type dette er.
Oi, det ser sånn generasjoner. Den var intens.
Veldig. Der, husker du det var et sånt tre med spesielle der lenger ned?
Ja, den eika. Den eika er på oversiden av den kanten.
Ja, den så vi ikke. Den må vi jo finne. Der var det en eik.
Her var det en fin eik. Og den har stått der lenge. Den har alltid stått eik sikkert.
Åh, stor. Ja, der har det vært eik sikkert. Tilbake i jernalderen også. Ja, der var den benken.
Ja.
Det er koselig at jeg satt opp en benk da. Det var nesten sivilisert.
Ja. Hvis du ser på den her,
Ja.
så ser det jo ut som de har lagt steiner, ikke sant?
Ja, de har tydeligvis rydda den veien her.
Ja, men
For
du
stein,
ser det,
ja,
for
da-
den er lagt veldig, for her er det nesten det er lagt en sånn kant
Ja.
bortover, så dette er en
Her har de rydda en steinrøys, tenker jeg. Ja.
og
Og,
forseggjort sti,
ja, og brukt den
mye.
lenge og mye. Ja. Det minner litt om den derre Var den der i bronsealder-highwayen oppi Røverkolossen.
For å få det steinene i uret her til å lyse trygt.
Ja, det er mange år med gåing. Ja. Ja. Kan jo være tusenvis av år. Hvis det har vært et sånt rituelt sted som jeg tror, eller som vi tror, så tenker jeg at det er veldig, veldig gammelt. Det kan godt gå langt, langt tilbake. Det virker som de har liksom, sånne rituelle steder har liksom blitt lagt oppå hverandre ettersom tidene endrer seg. Ja,
Ja, når man vet at det var
ja,
bronsealdergraver
ja.
rett på andre siden her.
Ja, ja. Kommer så godt frem. Det var det sikkert òg. Mer sånn ja. Her har dere hogd mye.
Her kommer
Åh, her kommer den eika, da. Den ser jo helt Den står liksom oppå en haug òg. Oi. Pappa ringer nå. Kanskje jeg må ringe han opp etterpå.
Det er den som viser oss veien inn.
Ja, for det er veien inn til Prekestolen, ja.
Det var den tredje.
Ja. Skal vi opp her? Å, så vakkert. Eik, eik, eik. Så vi har gått forbi 3 eik, ikke sant?
Ja.
3 sånne eike...
Ja, det var den
Blokker.
Så er det den som er liksom rett opp, og så var det den.
Ja.
Det er mye eik her.
Det er veldig mye eik, da. Men det var sånne
Men de var
spesielle
liksom
eik. Ja.
Spesielle.
Det sto litt sånn... Oi, se på det fjellet.
På toppen. Der ser du. Da er jo det Juntåsen, ikke
Det
sant?
er Juntåsen. Kan du peke?
Her er Juntåsen.
Ja. Der bor Junten.
Det er veldig bratt. Og
står det liksom en sånn gran. Ja, den var sånn helt alene.
Her er ikke asfalten, og så ikke gran.
Nei. Det er ikke noe... Jo, ask. Jeg skal ikke si det ikke var noe særlig ask. Er det ask? Det er ikke det ask? Nei. Nei, det er rogn. Og... kommer snart overraskelsen her. Å, jeg ser den. Der. Han er nesten skjult bak trærne. Ja. Å, der er den hodeskallen jeg så sist. Den er litt mer værbitt nå. Å, fy søren. Herregud.
Opp der til høyre. Sånn her får du.
Eventually, we were back at the great preaching chair of the Gommerud giant. The old legend tell that the giant wanted to have people visit him again, just like they had in the old days. He wanted people to visit him, and since people by now were Christians, he was ready to accommodate their new beliefs and built a church and a preaching chair to attract them. We think that this legend and the very landscape itself may reflect on the possibility that the place was used for earlier pre-Christian ceremonies where the giant had held an important role. The preaching chair. What if it was once a thularstol, the chair from which the thul, the professional pagan reciter and chanter and storyteller, stood atop and sang out their recitals, which could have been heard far and wide through these mountains.
Lodspidek allar helgar kinder, meiri og minni mögu heimdallar. Vilt du at ek valføder vel framtelja, fornspjøl fira, da er fremst om han. Økman gjøtna, årum borna, da er fordum mikk fedda høftu, niu manek heima, niu ividi, mjøtvid mæran, fyr mold nedan. Eller på engelsk. Samme det.
Here you can see a typical part of the mountain here. It's a kind of rock that is made from it's the igneous rock from volcanoes and with a lot of gas in it. And as the magma has slowly cooled down and turned into stone, there has been these balloons of gas that have finally exploded within the mountain. And they have made these caves, which there are several of in the Gommerud mountains. Here you can see one that is almost circular, and often there are bird nests there, and even some of the caves are big enough for people to go into. And further down the Gommerud mountain there is a raven's cave, and it's been there for generations. The old people tell about that there has always been ravens there as long as they can remember, that their grandparents have told about the Raven Cave. And it's totally impossible for people or predators to come there. And this is one of those caves. I don't know if there are any birds there, but it's typical of these gas balloons that explode within the magma.
Wow. Takk til. Det er bratt ned, altså. Rombeporfyr. Det er sånn rombeporfyr, volcanic rock with special markings, can I see this?
Ja, vi kan jo se hvis vi finner en.
Ja. Der, here. Ja. Det er rombeporfyr.
This is the typical rock. It's called rombeporfyr. Rombe, I don't know what it's in English. It's a kind of
it's the shape of this.
It's a shape that it has four corners.
Four corners, but not quadratic.
No,
no, yeah.
It's kind of moved to the side, and there are always four sides and four. So it's part. It's named after how these rocks are formed, and this stone is very typical in this Gommerud area.
Old volcanic. Try to get.
Enda finere, da.
Å ja, for se der er det veldig sånn. Det er bra rombeporfyr. Og det er her også, ikke sant? Det er bare her er det dekket med så mye annet.
Men det er også, noen av dem er jo sånn basalt,
Ja.
som en yngre stein som har lagt seg oppå. Da.
Oi, her står vi midt i sånn. Okay, we're gonna go down there, so vi må se. Another cave. We found a cave. Det er sånn helluland det her. Caveland. Caves everywhere.
This one is really steep.
Oi, oi, oi. Oi, og så er det sånn trerøtter.
And you can see there are some roots. But there's a tree growing into the cave.
That's weird. I don't think we shall go further in there.
I think people could stay inside there, and if they, probably the floor would have been more even earlier, that is eroded because of water.
Yeah.
Because it's very steep here. Oh! Oh, there's like a chimney here.
A chimney?
I actually think there's kind of room that's been built here.
Like someone built in there?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Okay, I'm coming in. Huan liker ikke at vi går inn I huler, han.
Can I take it?
Yeah.
Here you can see there's a kind of chimney opening here.
There is a chimney.
And
Oh, wow.
and here you can see some rocks in front. Maybe there's kind of plateau there that you can sit up there.
Yeah.
Do you think so? I don't know.
Possibly. I'm not sure if I want to find out. It's really
No, me neither.
steep, extremely steep.
It's very steep,
Uphill cave. It's a cave going up.
but and I think those rocks didn't seem very stable.
No.
So I wouldn't like to climb up there
No.
because the rocks might slip if I put my weight on them.
Yeah. Oh, look at the view from here. Wow. Se den utsikten. What a cave.
It was really steep. But imagine if people live here,
Yeah.
they are so safe. It's impossible to be in here.
Yeah. You know, in many of the sagas, the fornaldarsøger, the sagas of olden times, they speak of a place, a magical place called Hellulands Obygdum, the wilderness of caveland. This is exactly like.
I know it's
Yeah.
in the middle of the summer. It seems very friendly, but I imagine here during rougher times.
Yeah.
And up there is, I think there is a tree and maybe a cave up there as well.
There might be actually.
There are so many caves here.
Yeah. We're gonna go into one later. Or two. So it's really steep, so I have to just turn off this to be able to climb down.
The giant who lived here in the mountain, Junten, he had his own preaching chair, as we have seen. But he had also built his own church. And old people say that the church was formed out of 3 gigantic triangular stones meeting each other at the top. And during 1972 or 73, some ignorant people who didn't know that this was the Juntekirke, the giant church, they blew up the church in order to get stones to build some houses here, and these are
This is
the
the
ruins
result, yeah.
of the church. There are only a couple of stones left and the church is gone. But it was here until 1972 and was a landmark for the people here.
Det er ravn, hørte du?
Ja, det
That's a
var-
raven sound. There is a raven's nest really close, and I just heard the raven. They had the raven chicks very recently. I can hear them. We're gonna try to film the raven cave. That's the giant church, the remains of the giant church. Contractors. And here is a water well, one of many water wells here, Tuva says.
There, because of how the mountain is formed from the volcanoes and then afterwards the glacier pushing on it and a lot of ice making cracks in the mountains. There are several water wells where water just comes up from the ground.
And this is one of them. I don't know. Okay. Oi! Søren. Jeg fikk ikke fanget dem.
Men det var det vi hørte.
Typisk, ja. We are hearing 3 squirrels. We just saw them, but I didn't manage to capture them. And that's the raven.
Det var en hule der.
Oh, en hule! Oi, oi, oi. En heller. Ja. Å, han liker ikke det. Det er sikkert noen dyr som bor der. Oi, det er en hule. Det er en hule, altså.
Men denne her er mellom steiner, så den er ikke sånn. Den er jo også stor da.
For det.
Den kan jo.
Jeg tror nok det bor noen her.
Det går jo egentlig an å gå inn i den nå.
Ja, men hvis det bor noen der. Jeg tror huan tror det bor noen.
Ja, bor det noen der, Johan?
Ja.
Ja, der bor det kanskje.
Vi skal ikke forstyrre dem. Grevling eller rev eller noe. Bare filme litt. So we're closing in on the Raven's Cave, although the cave is quite far away actually. Up. Og du peker til hva? All right.
Up there to the left, there is a pretty big cave. I guess it's 1.5 meters in diameter, and that's the Raven's Cave that's been there for generations. And last time we were here, we had the binoculars with us, and we saw the mom and 3 chicks.
Yeah.
And the time before that, we saw a raven flying twice towards the cave from the top, probably feeding the chicks.
They probably don't have the chick, but they might still sleep there, don't you think?
Yes, the ravens, they are usually not moving very far away from one place, only within 2 to 4 kilometers. And sometimes they like to sleep in the same tree as other ravens, and sometimes they go back to the nest.
Oh.
But they are usually very bound to their nest and their place, and that they come back year after year and generation after generation.
Here you see how high it is actually.
And there's another cave to the right there, so I don't know if there are some other birds.
Oh, there is another one. Yeah, maybe they have like family. Let's see. Okay, det er en. Så er det en til. Den er mellom trærne. Ja. Right. There. Well, there is another one, but it's a bit difficult to. Jeg synes jeg hører den, jeg tror. You can hear the raven. Kanskje den kommer. Det hørtes ut som en ungeravnen. There is the other cave. In between the leaves there. And the main cave with the nest that we saw. Vi hører dem i hvert fall. Det hadde vært fint hvis de kom flyvende forbi. Odin! Hugin! Munin! Kom igjen da! Vi hører dem.
One interesting thing about the ravens is that they lay their eggs while there is still snow on the ground. They
Yeah.
are the first birds.
First birds in spring, right?
Yes. And they lay on their eggs for about 40 days.
40?
Yes.
Ah.
That is quite a lot.
Yeah.
And the birds stay in the nest between 4 to 5 up to 8 weeks until they are ready to fly. And since they usually have nests that are quite hard to get to, they have to be able to fly the day they try it, or they will fall to the ground.
So that's the first time they are
Yes,
vulnerable.
if they don't make it, they'll fall like 10 meters straight down into the rocks there. So they have to make it.
Wow. Der er den! There it is. Yeah. Okay, so here we found an ancient fireplace. And a more recent one.
And
I still hear the ravens.
And I think the fireplaces are here because of the ravens, because people like
Yeah.
to watch them.
That's
They are
true.
very special
Yeah.
in the area, and people come here to look at them, and they have been here for so long. So it's a landmark, and it's when the ravens finally come in the spring, it's a sign that the spring is coming, and they watch how long the birds stay in the nest. So it's a way of the seasons turning.
Yeah.
That's why they have the fireplaces
Yeah.
here. And here you can see, it's not very easy to see, but there's a path going here up into the Juntåsen, the giant mountain.
With
And-
a cave. Yeah.
Yes, there's a cave on top there. And this path is called the church path. And that is from the giant's own church. So this path led to the church that was just around the over the
Yeah, the one that they blew up
yeah.
close to the preaching chair that we climbed. Yeah.
So this is how they went to the church. But
Down
this one
there.
is so steep, so probably they had to go up here after they had been to the church that they went.
Yeah. It's really steep. I remember when we were here last time and looked at we looked through binoculars
Mm-hmm.
at the ravens' chicks. there were many people. It's true. People gathered here. Not many, but you know,
But
many.
some people left.
Yeah,
Because,
especially interested people.
yes.
Yeah.
And I also met an ornithologist here who studies birds, and she had gone here because she had heard rumors of these ravens' nests.
Yeah.
And that's so she had been standing here for hours to look at them.
And this raven's nest has been here for generations. They say maybe really, really
Yes.
ancient.
They said that
Yeah.
people have always talked about them, and their grandparents have talked about them. So there have been several generations.
Yeah.
They come back.
Wow.
Vi går bare litt i kirkestien.
So this is the church path. And by church, we're not actually thinking of a real church, but a mythological church built by the Junte, by the giant. So, what did I say? The giant wanted to keep up with the changing times, probably, and made a church a long time ago.
I think the preaching chair has been there much longer,
Probably, yeah.
even before Christianity came.
Yeah. And as you can see, this is properly a path for giants and hardcore hikers like ourselves. It's not exactly the typical church path you would normally find in civilized places. It's like you actually have to climb this path. After the preaching chair and the church, there is a so-called church path, which leads up to the cave that we found on our first trip here. This time, however, we just walked a bit up in order to film the path, before we went down again to walk over to the ravine with the giant guard going up to St. Olav's holy water well, the one we saw in the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
On our way there, we had yet another surprise which only cemented our belief that this mountain was used for ritual purposes. A veritable stone circle with an altar and a labyrinthine spirally design. Apparently, it was not made by humans. It is natural, but the stones are laid in such a fashion that they would have been perfect for ritual anyway, at least within a religion that is known to have used natural formations like groves and caves, steeps and stones as natural temples.
Sånn sammen med alle disse runde.
Andre er runde, så den er flat.
Ja. Fy søren for et sted. Det er nesten som en steinsirkel. It's almost like Stonehenge, like a natural... It reminds me of Stonehenges from Bulgaria that I saw a few years ago. Someone put some nuts here. Yeah.
Yes, it is like a stone circle. And it
It
was
is.
special with the round stones here and the one more resembling a table or an altar, and it seems like people have been walking around here.
Yeah, as if we hadn't. This is like a circle, a proper circle. Huge. So if we didn't think this was a perfectly ritual landscape before, well, this is just one more addition to that impression that we got. That this must have been used. This is like a passage here, and like an entry, like a labyrinth actually. And there is the altar stone on the outside. Wow. This is like a little grove with an actual perfect altar stone. Wow, this is... We didn't see this before. Yeah, this is like a natural grove. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. This is... Her likte hun seg. Her var det var litt sånn lyst sted. And there, down there is a field. And a fireplace. It is old.
It's very strange that this has been filled with stones inside.
Someone
the
filled
circle.
it, yeah. Det er helt utrolig. Nå. Kanskje dette her var den opprinnelige juntekirken? At det var den hedenske, vet du. So I had this thought about this place, like the giant's church was over there, and they had this legend about the giant building a church and a preaching chair. But this is a natural formation but it's also like a natural temple. It has like a grove inside and like a Stonehenge that the giant built, and maybe this was his pagan temple before Christianity.
It could be.
Absolutely, this is perfect. I mean, if there were people around here in pagan times, they would have used this. I have absolutely no doubt that they would have used this as a natural temple. And
the rocks are all the same size. And if you look around in the area here, there aren't other rocks.
This is
this size.
only rocks
They
this
are
size.
gathered here, and who else but a giant could have done it?
Yeah,
He
because
made this, circle.
exactly. Well, in the megalithic age, they could have perhaps, but I don't think. I think this is natural.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think they would have. They would definitely have used this. It's like a labyrinth, and it has a grove and an altar in the middle.
And it is on a hill.
Yeah.
And we can see all the way to the ocean. And if we imagine there were less trees, that would mean that people would see this circle of stones from a long distance.
And isn't it just over there on the other side? We went there. There were some grave burial mounds from the Iron Age and the Bronze Age.
Yes.
On the other side of the valley.
And it's just there on the other side.
Yeah.
And Norway was covered by a glacier for a very long time. And the glacier pushed down the land masses. And when the glacier rushed into the ocean and melted, the land slowly began to rise.
Yeah.
But that meant that the ocean was much closer to this area than it was earlier.
So the beach would have been just down here.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was close to the ocean.
And they would have walked across there to where we saw the bronze graves, and there's a lake over there.
Yeah.
That wasn't very far away from the shore of the ocean.
Right.
We now can see remains of how the ocean was. It is where it's 220 meters. Then you can see that that was a ground of it was ocean ground underneath, and we can see that because there are a lot of shells and other kinds of rocks that made the soil very fertile.
Yeah.
And that's why they lived here, because it was so fertile. So that meant it would be a land stripe of land going in this direction, but further down into where we can see the Oslo region now, that would have been below water.
Yeah, all that we see there, the valley down there would have been covered with ocean all the way up here.
I think we're about 240 meters or something now.
Yeah.
So it would have been like 20-30 meters below where we are now.
But it's a very interesting landscape. There are some places, there are these huge boulders and Bauta stone, and it's all natural, but it's like
it's made on purpose.
if I could, it's like it's made on purpose. It's like a perfectly natural but also ritual landscape. This is absolutely amazing. And Huan, the dog, he liked this stone circle here. Well, it's not exactly a circle, but it's more like a labyrinthine.
But it's like a circle in the middle, and then it kind of spirals.
Yeah, there was a circle in the middle. Yeah, and yes, like a spiral. Oh, if we could have taken it from above. It's like a spiral. That's exactly begins here. We come right in here. This is a passage into the sanctuary. The inner sanctuary is right here. This is the circle. This is quite circular actually. This is the altar. And here is another path. Well, this is the labyrinth part. But yeah, if we could see this from above, it would be exactly like Tuva said. a spiral
I didn't come
shape.
far enough there, but maybe I could try on one of the other boulders.
Yeah.
Or do you think
Try.
that was without respect, or?
No, I think this is a very friendly place. There we can almost see, like, amazing. It's definitely a spirally, labyrinthine grove of stones with a circle.
Very good.
Yeah, from there? Okay, I'll be there.
There are several nuts gathered.
Someone has been using this as a sacred place, I think. There, she sees some nuts. Okay, I'm gonna come down. I'll give this to Amber. Okay, gikk du opp her?
Yep. Oh, Maria is going to climb the boulders here. They are very good for climbing. And if we see here, we can see the central rock. It's much higher than the others. Can you see?
The central rock? Yeah.
This one is much higher than the others. And the altar is very different because it's not that rounded. It's more flat.
Oi, du filmer feil vei.
Å ja. Da gjorde du det.
Sorry. Ok, en gang til. Jeg bare klipper bort det. Ok, ta igjen. Si det samme igjen.
Yeah. We can see here in the middle, the larger rock is much higher than the others, and it's flat on top. And to the right, we can see the kind of altar. It's very different from the others because it's flat on top and not round. And if
It's almost
this-
square,
Yes.
almost, yeah.
And we can see that around there is this round movement of rocks, and also spiraling out on the other edge.
It is a spiral, actually.
Yes, it is.
Almost like a perfect spiral.
It starts there and goes around. And if we,
like a labyrinth.
if we go here, circle in,
Yeah.
we can see that there are actually nuts placed in a very small crack on top of the largest rock in the center of. It was here before we came.
Wow. This is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we should have brought some.
What a view. What?
We should have brought some nuts.
Well, actually, I have some nuts. We're gonna leave some
Do you
nuts
have them
here. No, I have to get down and we have to offer some nuts. Okay, getting down is. Do you want to hold?
Men du syns ikke det var uansvarlig å gå oppå her?
Nei, jeg tror det var helt greit. Jeg fikk sånn. Nei, det er virkelig sånn utrolig flott, altså.
Her fikk jo jeg veldig lyst hvis jeg hadde vært med barn.
Dette burde du ta med barn til. Ja.
Jeg mener de ritualene og lage en sånn
Vi kunne laget et
live,
konsept
liksom.
her. Ja, sånn live, sånn, hvor vi forteller sånne historier.
Ja, og at de kan få være med inn her og ja.
Ok, så det passer. Ups. Wow.
Så skal jeg bare se om dette her nesten er sånn trapper.
Oi, there are some stairs. It's like it's made for. I think people were standing on top of this here, sitting
You see, it's just
around.
like
Yeah,
stairs.
yeah.
1, 2, 3, and then you're on top.
I think so because Huan, the dog, Tuva's dog, he always knows when we're not supposed to go on top. Like do you remember we went on top of the burial mound on the other side of the valley, and he was not happy, and we got.
Yes, its tail was pointing down. Refused going on the ground, and now he also refused going up the church path.
Yeah, but
And
here,
he also hates the preacher's chair.
yeah,
doesn't want to go close to anything that has to do with Junten.
No,
But here was fine.
here was fine. It's a very friendly place. I feel it was okay to stand on the rocks. I feel that was what people did actually. Like they sat around here, and something might have happened right here on the
This
altar.
one is so different. It's made
Yeah.
from a very different material, and it has more sharp edges, and it's flat and even kind of rectangular.
So the legends about a giant building all these rock formations in this area is strengthened. Yeah. What else could have made such a perfect temple, like a natural temple? And here is another one of these little caves. This is a tiny one, but this place is full of them.
We have to find some elderlies who knows what this place is called, but it must have a name.
Yeah.
It's so special.
This is like the Stonehenge of Gommerud. Oh yeah. This is like a lavvo. That's like you can actually sleep in there. It's a lavvo that they make for the children in kindergarten. It's relatively common in Norway to take the children in kindergarten outdoors to learn how to make things like this, like a shed where you can actually stay. It's a bit old, I think.
Yes.
This one. This is inside.
It should have fresh pines.
Yeah, it's old. Yeah.
But if they put the fresh pines upon it, it might shed them more from the rain.
Yeah.
And then they made the other kind, gapa.
And this is a gapahuk, yeah. Like a gaping hook. I think it actually might mean that. Yeah, this is the remains of a gapahuk.
Made from kindergarten.
It's nice actually, I think, that little children learn about these things. They like it. Oh yeah. Yeah, they used stones to fortify the lavvo.
Back at the start of this year, 2022, I did research on the initiation narratives of many different sagas. All of them spoke of a cavey, mountainous realm close to the ocean. Gommerud was once very close to the ocean, as the sea level was much higher back in the Viking Age and before. The mountainous realm was ruled by a giant or a giantess, or both. They lived in caves, up steep paths and ravines, where they received young men and young women who were made to go through trials and challenges and lessons. And they were taught, often while living inside the cave and learning its labyrinthine paths. There would be groves, altars, wilderness, temples, steep paths and caves. The bay in these stories is often referred to as Gandvik, the Bay of Magic, or the Bay of wands.
Tuva said the old
The place
name
can
for
also
this
be referred
region
to
is
as Helluland,
Bergheim,
cave
which
land.
means the world
When I
of
read these stories,
mountains,
I was struck
hills.
by the importance of the landscape in these stories. A ritual, ceremonial landscape. One that I, at least,
Portal.
and Tuva see reflected in the ceremonial-like landscape of Gommerud.
Mellom bakkar og berg ut med havet, even nordmannen fenge sin heim. Der han sjøl heve tuftene grave, og sett sjøl sine hus oppå der. Han så ut på det bårete havet, det var rusket og leikja utpå. Men der leika det fisk ned i havet, og den leiken den ville han sjå. Han så ut på de bårute strender, det var ingen som der hadde bygd. Lat oss rytja og bygja og skrender, og så eiga med rytningen trygg. Ut på vetter en stund om han tenkte, jeg var i et varmere land. Men når vårsol i bakkane blengte, fikk han hug til sin hemmelige strand.
It's now 9:45 in the evening. This is the brightest time of the year, of course. So this is in southern Norway, so we don't get actually midnight sun, but we have 11 o'clock in the evening sun. Yeah, we do.
Yes, it sets in more than an hour, so
Yeah. So it's still bright.
it hardly gets dark.
It's almost night. We're just gonna go explore a bit. We are now in Guttåsen. Well, we are just about to enter Guttåsen. We're in Eineåsen. Guttåsen means the boy hill. Eineåsen means the solitary hill. And we came from Jentåsen, which means the girl hill. So there is a girl hill, then there is a solitary hill, and then there is a boy hill, and beyond that there is a giant hill. Very interesting place names in this mountain. The boy hill. Oh. Oh. So there is a sunset now. 10 to 10 p.m. in the night. Let's go see where the boys sat during their initiation trials. Ganske spektakulært å se. So we're gonna sleep outside tonight in a hammock. There is Tuva making her hammock ready. I'm already in mine. Thank you for joining us on this trip. Good night. Good night.
Hei, hvor det vel friskt og lett, opp på fjellet. Her leker vinden i kåte sprett, opp på fjellet. Og foten danser og auga ler, og hjertet kveikjande ugnat før. Opp på fjellet. Kom opp fra den trange dal, opp på fjellet. Her blæsen blåster så frisk og sval, opp på fjellet. Og li skin ut av blomma full, og sol i drys alt sitt fagre gull. Opp på fjellet. I dalen starvar du tung og heit, kom på fjellet. Hvor fint her ikke noen veit, her på fjellet. Ditt auga flyg over nut og tinn, det som flyg det i himmelen inn. Opp fra fjellet. Og når nu soli til hvile gjeng, attom fjellet, da reier skuggane opp si seng, attmed fjellet. Da gidrar alltid en strålestrøm, og hjarta sveiper seg inn i drøm. Opp på fjellet.